Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brains, Bibles, and Beyond. We are so glad for you to have joined us today.
Delighted.
Delighted. Anyway, we have another exciting episode for you today.
Oh, yes.
Once again, we are going to go through our different segments. But before we do that, please like and subscribe and share and comment. We like comments. At least some of the comments. Some we don't like,
Most.
but that's okay. That's okay. Feel free to send your fan mail to me and your hate mail to Joel. We always appreciate that. Anyway, everybody grab your favorite theological receptacle and let's gather around and study our Bibles together.
Here we are. Oh, it's a spot. All right.
That was good stuff. So, all right. So for today's first segment, we're going to play a little game we like to call Stump the Theologian.
We all love it. Yes.
I have scoured the entire internet. I have scoured all the people I know, and this is the question that was brought up today. And yes, we are once again without our guest reader, but hopefully she will join us in the future again.
Eventually.
So today's question, and I believe we have actually had this conversation at some point. Do not remember if it was on a podcast.
All right.
Definitely has not been one of our Q&A questions that I remember.
Okay.
So anyway, where was Jesus for the 3 days between his death and resurrection?
Yes. Okay. So, let's see here. There's a few passages to consider. I'm trying to think of how to make this short. Okay. So one thing for sure, if I can remember the actual passage for this guy here. So 1 Peter 3:18 I'll start with. It says, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison." And it says, "Because they formerly did not obey when God's patience waited in the days of Noah," and it goes on. Okay, so we have this little snippet of something that happened there. So his body was in the tomb. His spirit went down to the spirits in prison. There is so much debate over what that means, like who the spirits are and what the prison is. Okay.
And where the prison is.
I think it's safe to say, to use the general term of Sheol, which is the New Testament version of that is Hades. And that is the place of the dead. And so that would be like when you see the rich man and Lazarus, that whole story there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have hell, paradise, separated by a great chasm in between. They can't cross over. Abraham's with Lazarus in paradise, rich man, torment and hell there. And so anyways, you have that place. So I believe he went down there and proclaimed his work is accomplished. I did it. You are done. He's defeated, totally disarmed Satan and his forces. Now the defeat is official. It's like it's only a matter of time. Let it play out, but it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really cool thing. So then I matched that up though with over in Ephesians.
Is that
4.
kind of like yelling checkmate?
Yeah. And he was such a great chess master. It was obvious he was going to win from the beginning, but he went ahead and played the match.
That's nice of him.
Yes. So then in Ephesians 4, great passage on unity and how there's church growth and whatnot. And then there is this little passage here in, let's see, verse 8 is where Paul quotes this. He says in verse 8, "Therefore," it says, you got to see what the therefore is. Okay, it's okay. It's right. "Therefore," it says, "when he ascended on high," when Jesus ascended on high, he led a host of captives, which is interesting. And he gave gifts to men. And it goes on to explain what those gifts are later. And then, real quick in verse 9, "In saying he ascended, what does it mean but that he also descended into the lower regions, the earth?" And I would be like, the lower regions, which is the earth. So some translations are like lower regions of the earth. So how do you translate that preposition? I think which is explanation, which is the earth. So that would be like the tomb. He goes down to the tomb. He who descended is the one who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. Well, what is that reference there? So Paul is quoting Psalm 68:18, when he writes that. And he says, when he ascended on high, he led a host of captives. So what is that referring to? So we go back to Psalm 68:18. It says, you ascended on high, leading a host of captives in your train. So like, the robe, the long part of the robe shows majesty, his kingship there, and receiving gifts among men, even among the rebellious, the Lord God may dwell there. So here's the idea. He has now conquered the enemy. And what he is doing, I believe, to put all this together, is this is the moment he takes the saints that are in paradise, because that's where believers would go after they die, and he would now, because his blood has been shed, officially, now there is, in the timeline of humanity, there is now forgiveness of sin, so to speak. And so then now he takes them up to heaven as victory. This is the spoils of my war. He has conquered Satan, and what is his treasures that he takes with him? He takes the saints, and he takes to heaven. So then after this point in history now, the Bible will say heaven instead of paradise. It doesn't say paradise anymore, which is really interesting. So what did he do? I think it was a victory speech, and then it was a big, majestic moment of him taking them up to heaven. And that was probably the whole time. And even though we say 3 days, it's not like our version of 72 hours. I don't think it was a whole 72 hours, because any part of a day is a day, that kind of a thing. And that goes to a whole other question.
So when he told the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise," was that that paradise, the Sheol paradise, not the heaven paradise?
So I was trying to make it quick, but since that's a good verse. So then yes, he guarantees, today you will be with me. So you know that he's in paradise. Yeah. So that's why I connect 1 Peter 3:19, and I say, okay, that's got to be with Ephesians 4 as well. He's taking them up. He goes there, takes them up. Okay. So I think, if I remember right, I believe that's the only references there is to that moment.
You're the theologian.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy asking the question.
Well.
All right. So you guys decide, did Joel get stumped by the question, or did he answer it satisfactorily? Or maybe you have a different point of view. That's okay. Make sure you include verses when you comment. Yeah. So we are all happy to discuss and study the Bible together. And
absolutely.
this is a conversation that people argue about. That's why I picked the question. So
it's a big one. Yep.
It's a big one. So anyway, we are moving on.